What's up everybody, Moniz here, and a couple of weeks ago I was chucking phones in pools like Oprah was giving out gifts on one of her TV shows. I took 5 of the top flagship smartphones and dunked it in a pool to find out whether or not they can survive the IP67 or IP68 water test. The phones that I dunked in the pool were the iPhone X, the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, the Sony Xperia XZ2, the Huawei P20 Pro, and the LG G7. Now I'm going to start off with the phones that did not survive the test, and the first one goes to the iPhone X. As soon as I took it out of the water, everything seemed to be okay. I could swipe through the menus, I could take a picture. The only thing that did not work was 3D touch. The motor inside of it stopped working properly. It was making a weird noise and just malfunctioning. Then a couple hours later, it did not start up at all. The phone completely died. I let 24 hours pass so it can dry out. I placed it in rice. Nothing could revive this smartphone. Now, some things are still working. If I plug it into the outlet, the battery does get hot, so it is receiving a charge, but something on the motherboard must be fried. The second phone that did not survive the test was the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, and just like the iPhone X, everything seemed to be working when I took it out of the water. I could move around the menu, I could take pictures, I could load up software, it just seemed fine. But just like the iPhone, a couple hours later the phone completely died. I tried charging it, I placed it in rice, and nothing happened. Now the last 3 are kind of interesting because they all still work but have small little problems except for one device. I'm going to talk about the LG G7. This phone was amazing. It handled the water great, everything still works. There was no water in the camera, I could still take pictures perfectly. The speaker works fantastic. The only thing that did not survive, and I noticed this a couple of days later, was one of the microphones on the bottom of the phone. If you make a phone call with the device, the person on the other end can't hear you. The fourth phone was the Huawei P20 Pro. This phone was pretty much working flawlessly until a few days later, I noticed one thing stopped working. The earpiece was a lot lower than it was before. I can make a phone call, the person on the other end can hear me clearly, the camera was working, touch functionality was working, everything was working, but the person on the other end that you were talking to was a lot lower than before. The volume was all the way up, so something in that earpiece is not the same as before. And the last device, the champion out of the bunch, is the Sony Xperia XZ2. This phone went through the test flawlessly. Everything about the device still works. Camera, display, touch functionality, it charges correctly, wireless charging. You can hear the person exactly like you could hear them before. You can speak to someone, they can hear you clearly. This phone passed the water test with flying colors. Now, obviously none of these devices are waterproof, and please, I do not suggest you do what I did. This was just an experiment for myself. I ended up losing a lot of money because the iPhone X and the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus do not work anymore. And those 2 devices happen to be my daily drivers. Now this brings me to the next segment. I need you guys to suggest me a daily driver with the phones that I currently have. Hands down, this is a first world problem, but you guys always come to me for advice. So I figured this time I'm gonna ask you for advice. Here are my options. I have the LG G7, the OnePlus 6, the Sony Xperia XZ2, the Pixel 2, and the Huawei P20. I'm kind of feeling the G7, but I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys have to say. So anyways, that's the update on this water test. I don't think I'm gonna be doing too many more of these tests because obviously phones are not supposed to go in water, but it was interesting to try it out anyways. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next one.